In this lesson, we are going to continue to take a look at election data, and specifically today we are going to take a look at the general election that is coming up on November 8th, and we're going to take a look at the polling data going back to September of 2015. And so we're going to put in those percentages, and we're going to be looking at the polling data using the data from NBC and the Wall Street Journal. So we'll just look at one of the polls. There's a lot of polls, as you can see here from this list. And so what I've done is I've gone through and just picked out the NBC Wall Street Journal poll. Those of you really interested in this could go through and further analyze this data. There's a lot of it here. And so the first step is to go ahead and enter the raw data that I've provided for you, which is right here. So we've got Clinton and Trump, national general election, and this is NBC News, Wall Street Journal poll data. And so you're going to want to break that up by date. Here's Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump. And so step number one is to get this information entered into your new worksheet and name that first sheet Poll Page 1. And once you have that done, we will move on. Additionally, in this lesson, we are going to learn how to use some logical operators, what we call if statements. And so that's going to be new, and we are going to use this data in order to construct logical formulas. All right, with our data now entered, it's time to do some formatting. That'll be our first step, and so we want to make it look like this. And I'll go ahead and leave that there for just a minute in case you want to come back and pause to compare yours to this. So let's go ahead and get that completed. Step number one. You can see we need to add a couple of new column headings here, spread and leader. But the first thing I want to do is go ahead and select everything and change it to a font size 12. And so this is now font size 12, and I've zoomed in so you can see it easier. If you want to experiment with the font type, you can also do that too. So let's go take a look. We need spread and leader. And so I'm going to shortcut a little bit and just copy these. That right there. And so we have columns A through E with our information. And so now we could go ahead and center these headings over the top of our worksheet. So we're going to do a merge and center. So let's go ahead and select A through E, columns A through E, and then simply click merge and center. And we'll do that for rows 1 through 3. Next up, we want to put a border. I see there's already a border under that. That's because I did a copy there, so it also copied that formatting. So go ahead and select all of those. In row 6, it's going to be columns A through E. And put a bottom border. Next step, let's get some column width in here. Now you can select any of the rows as long as you get columns A through E. I'm on the home main menu, format, choose column width, and we are going to make this a size 20. And that's what your document should look like at this point. Let's take a look at column A. We've got 2015 and 2016. Date's a little bit busy. Let's just go ahead and make it month and date on these, month and day. And so what we could do is select all of these. Come up to number, drop down the box, bring up our dialog here. Make sure that number is selected here on the tab selections. And notice in the category we have lots of different categories of numbers that we can deal with. We want date. And then within the date category we can go through and choose the type of format. And so we're going to make it real simple so that when we do our line chart it'll be a lot easier to read. It won't be quite so busy with lots of different, putting that year in there every time. Not necessary. And we're going to deal with that up in the title here in just a second. So let's just get that format right there. Just the month and the day. Now because we did that, what we'll want to do is go and indicate up in our title the actual time frame to make sure that we do show that year somewhere. So you could go ahead and add this right here. September 2015 through October 2016. And so I'm going to just grab that. You go ahead and type it in. And I'm going to put that right there. So be sure to pause the video to give yourself time to get that completed. And then we'll move on to columns B and C. So we've got these percentages entered as decimals, and so we're going to reformat those. Before we do that, let's go ahead and center this information in row 6 right here. Center alignment. And we'll select these values and let's convert those to percentage with no decimal places. Right there. So on September 20th of 2015, a poll of likely voters is showing that 49% would vote for Hillary Clinton and 39% of those would vote for Donald Trump. The other way to think about a percentage is that out of 100 voters, 49 of them would vote for Clinton and 39 of them would vote for Trump on September 20th. And so that's how you interpret this data. Now the spread is going to be the difference between these two. Difference meaning we're going to subtract. How big is the difference? 49 minus 39. Now we want to get a positive number. So what we're going to have to do is give Excel a little bit more information. And so this is where the logical operator comes into play. And when we talk about logical, we want the computer to think a little bit. We want it to analyze the data and make a decision. And it's going to be a very simple decision. And so what we're going to do in this particular situation is create a formula that looks like this. Now, it looks a little complicated, but we're going to break it down. What we are going to do is ask D7 to analyze what is in B7, compare it to what is in C7, have it make a decision, and then give us that result. So let's start by analyzing the formula that I currently have here. The if logical function starts off with an equal sign, just like every formula that we do. So you type equals, if, does not have to be uppercase, with a parenthesis. And so this is what's called a logical test. So the logical test that we are going to do for this one is if B7, and that's right here, if the contents of B7 are greater than the contents of C7, comma, then we want you to do this, B7 minus C7, comma, otherwise we want you to do this. So it's three different parts. You have a logical test, a value if your statement is true, a value if the statement is false. Once again, we've set up a test if B7 is greater than C7. If that is true, I would like for you to do this. I would like for you to take the contents of B7 and subtract C7. Otherwise, I would like for you to do this. If the value is false, do this, C7 minus B7. Do it the other way around because we want to get a positive number. Let's go through and do it. Start with that equal sign. Type the word if. Once again, it does not have to be in all caps. I do that so it's easier for you to see it. Parenthesis. Equals if B7. If B7 is greater than C7, then, and so I put a comma in for the word then, if B7 is greater than C7, then do this. B7 minus C7. Otherwise, and that's the comma, and that comma means otherwise, I want you to do this. C7 minus B7. So in this particular case, if Trump's number were bigger, we would want to subtract Trump minus Clinton. If Clinton's number is larger, we want the Clinton number minus the Trump number, so it always gives us a positive result to show the spread between those values. And then we need to finish that with a parenthesis. And if we did everything okay, we can click that check mark and then format that as a percentage. And there we go. And 49 minus 39 makes sense that would be 10%. And then the next thing we want to do is we want to find out who has the 10% lead. Is it Clinton or is it Trump? And so we're going to put in another logical operator that's going to look like this. Now we're going to use words in this particular case, so it's typed in a little differently. We're going to use these little quotation marks. So in this particular case, what we're going to do is this. If the value B7 is greater than C7, then we want to type the name Clinton. If it's not true, we want to type Trump. So whoever has the larger value here is the one who gets the spread, or the one who is in the lead by that certain percentage amount. Let's give that one a try. Equal sign. If, parenthesis, if B7 is greater than C7, then we want you to type the name Clinton. Otherwise, there's the comma. Oops, don't forget that parenthesis or that quotation. Otherwise, we want you to type the name Trump. And finish that off with a parenthesis. Now we can test whether or not this is correct by simply coming in here and let's say changing this from 49 to 29, just to see if our arithmetic and our logical operators are working as expected. So what I would expect to happen if I make this number smaller than this number, then I would expect the calculation to change, and I would also expect the leader to change from Clinton to Trump. So let's take this down. I want to remember that's 49%. Let's take it down to 26.26. And sure enough, there it is. There's the recalculation, and there is a change in the name. We'll put that back to 49% or 0.49 and convert it to a percentage for you. And then try it again. Get some practice here. Equal sign. If in this case B8 is greater than C8, then B8 minus C8. Otherwise, do it the other way around. C8 minus B8. Finish that with a parenthesis, enter. And of course, we want to format that as a percentage. And then try this one again. Practice those for this lesson at least 3 times, more if you're not quite sure. And then what we could do is go ahead and finish that off by copying those all the way down. And then be sure to test it. Pick something at random here. What if this 47 were actually 0.1 or 10%? And make sure that your formula works, that your logical function that you created works as expected. I'm going to undo that. And so there you go, and that'll do it for this one. In the next lesson for this assignment, we will do a line chart and take a look at the data and maybe do a little analysis of the general election for 2016 Clinton versus Trump.